I want to teach this evening on what I've called a few lessons from the life of Joseph. Now, let me just say this. If you don't spend time reading what we call the Old Testament, you will have no street wisdom, godly wisdom, or, let me put it this way, godly wisdom to live on the streets. Are you following what I'm saying here? You will not have it. Let me not see what I want. All right. All right. So I want to glean certain things from the life of Joseph there. And the first thing I'm going to look at 5 lessons, I believe. 5 lessons from the life of Joseph. And the first one we're going to look at, let's read Genesis 45 verses 3 to 5. And Joseph said unto his brothers, I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said unto his brothers, come near to me, I pray you. And they came near. And he said, I'm Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Now, hear what he said. You sold me to Egypt. Now, therefore, be not grieved. Listen, you are meeting people that sold you, your brothers. And he said, be not grieved, nor angry with yourself. Don't carry any guilt upon yourself that you sold me hither. For God did send me before you to preserve life. Do you get what we're saying here? Joseph is telling his brothers who betrayed him, held a conversation on how to kill him, and we'll see this, there was just an intervention. He said, don't carry the burden of that guilt. And don't let your heart be grieved in any way about this. Because actually, all that stuff you are doing, it was God himself that sent me ahead of you to preserve life upon this earth. Then when we get to chapter 53, or chapter 50 rather, from verse 15 to verse 20, we say something else again, saying the same thing. Now this after Jacob had died, and they felt that, look, Jacob was our covering, now Joseph will come for us, because they just didn't believe that Joseph had forgiven them. All right? Now, when Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, Joseph will now peradventure hate us, and will certainly requite us all the evil that caused us to repay the evil that we did unto him. And they sent a messenger to Joseph, saying, thy father did command before he died, saying, so shall ye say unto Joseph, forgive, I pray thee now, the trespass of thy brethren and their sin, for they did unto thee evil, and now we pray thee, forgive the trespass of the servants of God, of the God of thy father. And Joseph wept when they spoke unto him. And his brethren also went and fell down before his face, and they said, behold, we be thy servants. And Joseph said unto them, fear not, am I in the place of God? And then he said, but as for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring it to pass as it is this day, and to save much people alive. Now, here is the first lesson, therefore, about the life of Joseph. You can see the attitude of Joseph in all of this. We are not talking about, we'll read it, something small here. You know, so don't come and overplay what you are going through as though it's because you don't understand what I am going through. Listen, his brothers, blood brothers, carried him. Were going to the first plan was that they were going to kill him. And they said it and he heard them. And the father sent him to go and meet them to find out where they are. And what they were going to do was that they would say that on his way there, an animal came, wild animal, got him, tore him into pieces. Here is his blood. Take the garments back to the father and say, we also stumbled upon it. He had been beaten and all of that dragged away. Here is clothes. And he heard, listen to me, he heard his brothers having this discussion. Look, let's read it here. Genesis 37:14 to 22. It says, and he said, go, I pray thee, see whether I be well. This is father sent him. With thy brethren, with all that, bring me word again, and sent him out, and all of this. Verse 15, and a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field, and the man asked him, what seekest thou? And he told the man that I'm looking for my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flock. And the man said, they departed hence, and said, let us go, all right, to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. Verse 20, and then they said, come now therefore, and let us slay him, cast him into some pit, and we will say that some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. These are your blood brothers. All right, next verse. And Reuben heard it and delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto him, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, and that I might lead him out of our hands to deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass when Joseph came into his brethren that they stripped Joseph of his coat of many colors that was on him, and they took him and cast him to a pit. The pit was empty, there was no water. They were going to leave him to die there. And they sat down to eat bread, and you are there looking at your brothers. Are you following what I'm saying here? Having lunch. Are you following what I'm saying here? The trauma, before, people say that it was traumatic. Look, the trauma here. They are having lunch, and behold, the company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead, and they sold him. Now, Joseph now came back and said, this is the divine interpretation of what happened. It was God who sent me. Are you following what I'm saying here? Therefore, lesson number one, no matter how men are treating you, the invisible hand of God is there with a divine purpose for your life. Are you following what I'm saying? Did you hear what I said? And the recognition of that invisible hand in the midst of it, where a person acknowledges God, that yes, I have been treated this way and this way and this way, but God, there is a deeper purpose that you have in the midst of all of this. And the fact that Reuben just suggested when they were going to kill him and said, look, don't let's kill him, was something God inspired inside the heart of Reuben to help him so that he doesn't die and they deliver. And you see, all right, and we'll see this here, if a person gets offended, if you get offended at things, at what people do to you and how they do it, that you get offended and say that, look, this people have treated me and all of that, you miss out on the divine plan of God. Look, this is how the plan of God and the purpose of God manifests in the lives of people. Now, people say, I want to know my purpose in life, but they react to everything around them that God uses, all right, to bring them into the... This was a young guy. This was a very young guy when all this was being done to him. And God allowed it, and God looked at it and said, this is where I'm taking you to. And they treated him in that particular way and sold him, and he was preserved. He didn't die, all right, and all of that. And he recognized at some point that this is the divine hand of God upon my life, and that you people here were actually working for the fulfillment of God's purpose in my life. So if you are a child of God here, you are under God's, all right, sovereign plan. And God's invisible hand is involved in the affairs of your life. In everything that happens, there are two ways in which you can react. Two ways you can react externally and all of that, and you can justify your reactions before men. And those reactions before men, you will justify it before men, and they will say you are correct. In the same way, when Isaac was battling over the wealth, or they came to strive over the wealth of his father, if you enter into the battle over the wealth of your father, you will justify it before men. Are you following what I'm saying? You know, I was in my class, we were having a discussion, and they were saying this, and they were saying the opinion. I said, look, I don't think you people understand. We're talking about something happening in the world. And I said, I don't think you get it. I said, in the world of power, people's opinions about you don't count. You see, what you are exalting here are discussions on WhatsApp group. It was about Trump and Zelensky. They don't know anything about our discussion here. You understand? People overestimate this. We're typing. What does that have to do with game of power? Do you understand what I'm saying here? And people, I'm telling you that people actually exalt, and it's because people don't understand and haven't got. I said, look, it has not. Don't you get what we're saying here? This discussion here is a waste of time, except we are learning one from another. It's a total waste of time. All right? Because I said, look, so they took him, and God wanted to even, and that gives you deliverance as a person, because God allows that so that you will know that after all these things they did to me, I didn't die. Then it must mean that I'm overestimating the power you're giving to human beings. He wants to deliver you from it. All right? He simply wants to deliver you from it. I mean, if you are not delivered from it, you will work for other people. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. Like somebody said, he said, look, okay, let's assume this. You have, let's say, 6 relatives. All of you are giving 500,000 naira. They went, sprayed all their money, spoiled that they did all kinds of things. You invested your money. You became a billionaire. Are you following what I'm saying? You know that those people that wasted all their money can make you feel guilty. That you are not taking care of them. I hope you know. And that you're a wicked person, and they will come there and strip you of what you... Do you understand what I'm saying? And the joy of what you have done. Listen, they can even tell you can even get married, and they will tell you they have more claim over that money than even the... I hope you know what I'm saying. All right? So the first thing about it is that, things will happen. That's the first one. And Joseph came to realize that. And we see this in James chapter, chapter 5, verse 8 to verse 11. So don't trip over what people do and this is what this person said. I know what this person did and what this person said. Okay? Look, like someone said. He said, any stone you are going to make the cornerstone is going to be the stone that carries the building. That's, you put the weight on it. In order to put the weight on that building, you have to take that stone and go through stress tests and make sure the stone is strong enough to be able to carry it. So whoever is going to carry the whole must go through certain things to develop the capacity to carry. Are you following what I'm saying? In fact, we can tell you, if you've not suffered rejection from anybody, they've not treated you well, God doesn't have any big assignment for you in life. The amount of shege people have shown you is an indication of the depth of your calling. What I've told you is the truth. Have they shown you shege? Yes. How much? Plenty. Then God has a strong calling for something in your future. Look at James chapter 5, 8 to verse 11. I said, why didn't I get there? You took offense. Be ye also patient and establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth near. It says, grudge not one against another, brethren, lest you be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door. It says, take my brethren, the prophets who have spoken to you in the name of the Lord for an example of suffering and affliction and of patience. He says, behold, we count them happy which endure. We have heard of the patience of Job and have seen the end of the Lord. So he says, look, you are going to go through things and you'll see the end, that a purpose comes out. But what actually destroys it is when you hold a grudge against, all right, the people there, that you feel that it's the people that treated you in a certain way and they should not have treated you in that particular way, all right? You are correct. Joseph's brothers should not have treated him in that way if we're going to go by, the way and manner in which he was treated. But if you look at it from the concept there of the sovereign plan of God, all right, for the life of an individual, then you know that the person has to go through certain things so that the person develops the capacity, internal capacity, to be able to handle the things that they are going through. So Joseph said, look, don't take personal responsibility for this. Don't die of guilt. Don't look at me and feel that, listen, maybe we shouldn't have. If you didn't do what you did, I would not be where I am today. Take yourselves as servants of God, agents in the hands of God, who through your hands, God in his sovereignty, you thought you were doing evil, but it was God himself that was moving me. So in everything that happens in your life, go and give thanks. Are you following what I'm saying here? Go and give thanks to God. That God, I don't understand what is going on here. I really don't understand it. Right? But I've come to give you thanks and to praise you for this particular thing that has happened. So don't ever think that, this person did this. Look, there's somebody I'm helping to do something today. I was telling my wife, I said it's only people that were in University of Lagos with us. Even before we got born again, I did not see him get born again in University of Lagos. He had graduated and gone. It was when he had gone, he became a born-again Christian. I said, and I'm working with him on something. It's only those people that will look at it and say, you mean that God was doing something even when we were in the world? Do you understand what I'm saying here? Because God is deeper than all this stuff here. Okay? So he's working in his sovereignty about things. And if you want to see his plan evolve in your life, you don't understand it. You might have experienced deep pain from it. You are hurt by that particular, but go to God and say, God, in your sovereignty here, you are doing something beyond what I can think and conceive, and I've come to give you thanks and all of this. Because without Joseph, just to show you the degree of his calling, Joseph said, God sent me to preserve life. If Joseph did not interpret that dream, humanity will have been wiped out. We say this again, the degree of rejection and ill treatment you get from the hands of men tells us exactly the depth of your calling in God. Are you following what I'm saying here? Exact. It's not, it's a science. Which means how much people have treated you wrongly will tell us how much God has in his heart, all right, for you as a person. And you can't be petty about stuff. Look, you can't do anything for God if you are petty about things. Which means when I say you are petty now, somebody didn't treat you well, I'm going to now wait for this person. You know, that kind of behavior. I'll wait for them, I'll show you that. You things that's being petty. And please, let me tell you this. Listen to what I'm saying. You may not like it. Listen to what I'm saying. Many times this is what keeps women away from power. You may say that somebody was telling me, a friend was telling me, I said something when I went to England, and she works for a big business. I said, look, she said, you are correct. She said, I sit on a board, and these are top people in England. And one day they said, the amount of women on this place is too little. The guy is an Italian. He said, I can't say this publicly. He said, but the reason why I said we've employed women, he said, when we say something and do something, instead of them to act on what we're saying, they attribute it to the fact that they are women and start causing problems. He said, we don't want it. Are you following what I'm saying here? If they say this happens because they're discriminating against, and all of that, they don't want it. You can't be tripping on things. You can't be more than a conqueror and at the same time be a victim. Choose one now. You say you're more than a conqueror in Christ. You say you're a victim. Look, when South Africa apartheid started, the reason why all this xenophobia started was that you go there and there were people began to employ. Why were they taking Nigerians? Because they needed blacks inside something. But they were taking Nigerians. The reason is this. Look, I went to South Africa. I sat down with they were bringing some African Americans from America. One African American lady, what's her name now? And a guy. And then there was a colored lady. They came for platform then. Can't remember. Sharon McPherson. And all right, so we all sat down to eat in a restaurant. And they went past us. And the person serving, that's not the Milo, the bread, normal bread, had served other people and did not serve us. And the other people in the restaurant were Caucasians. Now, I had been in Cactus the week before. And we were all black Nigerians there. And they missed me with the bread. Do you get what I'm saying here? So my own background is not color. The person missed me. Fight started on the table. I said, what's the problem? He said, listen, it's racist. I said, it's not racist. They missed me in Nigeria last week. They missed me. You see, once you start having those trauma triggers, then you sit down in a place, you just come with the trigger. The boy says, look, we don't want trouble. I told them, calm down. When we called the guy was so apologetic. I'm so sorry. You could see that it was an honest mistake. The second principle there, and you won't even get into this if you don't know, because you'll be having beef, and we'll get to it. You'll be living as they're angry people that nobody has done anything. There's just bottled anger. I'm telling you, a lot of people in the world are angry. No, but you're laughing. I'm telling you, people are just in a state of anger. There's anything that happens, the anger just comes out. That's the default mode. We're angry. Are you understand this? People believe that, they just look at things and feel that, they just feel it. All right? And today you say, there are many things you say. You say, that's my truth. There are many things you can say. Now, the second thing is that he made, please understand, is serving people, all right, the core of his being. In other words, wherever Joseph entered into, and if you're angry, you won't even do this. You'll even be withdrawn from life. Your brothers did it this way, it's over. All right? Nobody again, nobody under the sun will have any opportunity to use me. You know that kind of behavior. I will not, I will, and this is what Satan wants, I will not go the extra mile for any human being again. I do me. Those things. Are you following what I'm saying here? So nobody does this, which means most people are retaliating. I'm saying here, most people are retaliating. And many times people, not that many times, what happens is when people treat people wrongly and they do things, is the way they were treated that they're putting the knife back into the person. You understand what I'm saying? So 2 things in which you serve the Lord. 2 ways in which you serve him. And so number one, I will say this here, understand that you're operating under God's sovereignty. All right? Just understand this. If you feel that you should have gotten something and you didn't get it, just go to God and give him thanks. And build an altar there and worship him. The Lord, I did not get it. You reign in the affairs of men. And you know what is best in this situation. I await your visitation concerning this matter. because God will not leave any issue in your life without his judgment. Did you hear what I said here? There is no matter in your life. There will be no controversy. He wants to judge everything. Which means that you are rejected here. He judges the issue. And you now see in your life that, oh, this is why this person did not accept me because, all right, of this particular thing. I was drawn to this particular thing, but this is what God, all right, provided for me. So let's look at, so one is that you serve God, and we'll look at it. The second is that you serve other people, which means that if you enter into any space there, you ask yourself, who am I serving here? Or how do I serve people here? How do I serve them? Don't get a job and think that it's just a job I'm doing. It is a point of contact to serve. This job, what does it mean? I am serving. So let's even say somebody is a front desk person, and person gets there, right? And says, now, how do I serve? Okay, so there are people working or that come in, that work in this office. How do I serve them best? Which means, what are the ways in which I can make it easier for these people to be able to do their work more effectively as they walk in through this door? And you start thinking that way. All right? The clients that come into this office, what can I do to do it whereby that I can make them, all right, do it? And it gets to the point where, let's even just assume that you just look at the chairs and you look at the chairs they've put in that reception. You look at it, and anybody who sits on this chair for 15 minutes must be suffering. Are you following what I'm saying here? And you just think about putting throw pillows. You understand what I'm saying here? Because you are thinking about people. This is what and this is the key to it. You are thinking about people. So even when Joseph was betrayed and all that, once he got to Potiphar's house, he was thinking about serving. And once you start thinking about serving, that is the channel, all right? I'm telling you this, that's the channel that God blesses. What God told them when he was bringing them out of bondage, he said, let my people go that they may serve me. Once people enter into service, bondage has to be broken. He says, let them go that they might serve me. Why do you serve God? Two ways. We'll say this, ministering to him. One. Number two, serving people, which means in any area in which you are thinking about it, that how can I serve people? You see, once you think about people, many people think in terms of power. Once you just think about people, you become people-oriented, which means, how can I do this thing that people will benefit the most from what I'm doing? Then you are now a channel through which God can begin to flow. Ideas will begin to flow. Stuff, all right, will begin to flow. So look at Genesis chapter 40, verse 1 to verse 4. And you'll see what Joseph did. And this is where stuff happens. And it came to pass after these things that the butler, all right, the king of Egypt and his baker offended their lord, all right, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was wroth against his two officers and against the chief butlers and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them in ward in the house of the captain of the guard into prison and placed them where Joseph was bound. So Joseph was bound there. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them. And he did what? Served them. And they continued a season in the word. Which means Joseph was there and he was serving those two guys. Making sure they were comfortable. And it was in that process of serving that he actually now saw that their countenance was down, and his concern from them was how he now went up to God, and that's where the breakthrough came. So it's really about serving people. And many times people are just thinking about themselves, and it says about serving people and thinking this way. And I learned it very early, all right, in Christendom here, which means it's about serving people. It's about, and that's where everything comes. It's about looking at a queue and saying this queue is too long for people. That's where service is. Isn't there any way in which we can shutting this thing down. It's too long. I'm not saying, but the process, there's no process that you can say process that people are suffering. Human beings shouldn't suffer like this. Let's see how we can do this thing. You think about people there. Something moves on the inside of you when you see people and you can look at it. How best can we do this? How best can we do this? How, in best interest of people, how can we do, and all of that. So it's about serving, thinking about people and serving them. But for it to be balanced, this is the balance that people must get. You serve God first. So your balance is that God is my source here. And then number 2 there, right, in 2 Corinthians 8, 1-4. And this is the key to breakthrough. This is actually the key to breakthrough. Moreover, brethren, we do want you to know the grace bestowed upon the church in Macedonia. He says how that a great trial of affliction, they were going through affliction. The abundance of their joy and deep poverty abounded to the riches of their generosity. Which means we saw how generous they were when they were going through things. And the thought is that when you are going through something, all right, what you're supposed to do is to withdraw. I had a friend that, it's a true story. And he was a leader in the University of Lagos, one of the top spiritual leaders then. And he used to teach and he will preach. And he was now dating someone and was going to and they got married. And they started having problems in their marriage. All right, they were living abroad now. And so somebody came to meet him and said to him that I'm going to Rema Bible School. He said God has called him and he has started his fellowship. He said, I prayed throughout the whole of UK. You are the one I think will lead this thing. And he came to meet him and he told him, he said, I have problems in my personal problems now. I don't think I'll be able to handle this. Okay? And he let go of it. That thing became, at some point, the 3rd largest church in England. Because they now went to somebody else. Now, his marriage didn't work. You see, sometimes the reason why you're having the problem is that you are too... Service will cost you. Do you get what I'm saying here? Look, when I was having the problem with her, and it was looking like divorce, I went to go and meet somebody we knew in Lagos who was like pastor. I went to meet him. I said to him, look, this guy wants to divorce this lady. There should be an intervention. Because he was very angry with us, and it was like a pastor that was cursing. He told me. He said he can't leave her. I said, why? He said, what are you telling me? He said, I was his pastor. He said there was no young girl around him that did not want to date him. He said among all the young girls then, in Investor everywhere, he chose her. He said he loves that woman. You can't tell me this. But they broke. Do you get what I'm saying? He told me, he said anybody will have dated. He said, but he loved and chose her. But they broke. You see, once you get out of service there, you get self-centered. And sometimes in that self-centeredness, you're trying to solve your problem. The more you are doing it, the more you are focusing on your own self there. So service there, all right, is a powerful way of doing that. But the balance here, let's just go on. In deep poverty, let's go on verse 3, all right? For to their power I bear record, all right? These were people that were going through things. Beyond their power, they were willing of themselves. Now, please, service is not occupying a position. Do you get what I'm saying here? Service is thinking about people and saying what is the best way in which I can. Are you following? In service there, you exercise power really. There are only few times I've been in this leadership thing, you have to exercise real power and say, listen to me, I am putting my foot down. This is it. All right? 95% of leadership is service. 5% is exercise power. If what you're doing is exercise power, you're not serving. Are you following what I'm saying? Okay? That means there is no, which means if you are leading a team and you see that the countenance of somebody is falling. Now, of course, we are doing work. When we finish the work, everybody can go. You call the person, come. Why is your countenance falling? Is there any issue? That's service now. Are you following what I'm saying here? Now, look at what he says here. He says, pray much entreaty that they will receive. So they were the ones telling them that they should receive the gift and take upon themselves the fellowship of ministering to the saints. He now said, and this they did, not as we hoped, but first gave of themselves to the Lord. So you don't go and give yourself to people without giving yourself to the Lord first. Do you get what I'm saying here? So it is from the Lord there you get the ideas, which means, and you know it's the Lord that is giving. So you are dependent on God and not on people. And you understand that people can express and treat you and don't rest. I mean, Joseph told the people he was serving after he had interpreted the dream for them. He said, look, show kindness back. This kindness I've shown unto you, show it back when you see the king. They forgot about him. That doesn't mean you stop. All right? And you'll be tested. You shall continue in well-doing. You shall reap if you do what? Which means you may want to faint before you get to harvest. And people faint because you are thinking about people. All right? You know, thinking about, and all of that, and doing all of that. In terms of that's what you have to thinking about. So, service there. Now, service to God is Psalm 100 and verse 1 down. No matter what has happened, this service to God. Psalm 100, make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Others, you make a joyful noise. Now, verse 2, it says, serve the Lord with gladness. Come before his presence with singing. This serving the Lord. All right? Which means if you are serving with gladness, it means you shouldn't be glad, neither should you come with singing. The next verse, it says, know that the Lord is God and he made us. We are not of ourselves. We are the people of his sheep of his pasture. Verse 4, enter into his gates with what? Thanksgiving. And to his courts with praise. Be thankful unto him and bless his name. Now, you do that in communion with God. And then you look for ways in which you can, all right, serve people. Lesson number 3. So, number 1, understand the sovereignty of God in all things. It is hard though. Remember I said it's hard though. So it's not easy, but practice it. Remember the sovereignty of God. And I'm telling you that you will have several testimonies. You can't share the full story. Only God and you will know. Do you get what I'm saying here? You cannot share the full story. Okay? If you practice this, if you all right, you just cannot share the full story of it. Lesson number 3, hating and destroying other people will not bring your own growth. It is a very simple lesson. And I want to show it here. Hating and destroying other people, and it will not bring your growth. Okay? I mean, if people are going to go by personal feelings, Joseph should have prayed for the death of his brothers who showed him. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay? Now let me show you here. Pharaoh had a dream, and in the dream he saw essentially 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. Now look how the scripture reported it. In Genesis chapter 41, 17 to 21. And Pharaoh said, Joseph, in my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of a river. And behold, there came up of the river 7 kine, fat-fleshed, well-favored, and well-fed in the middle. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them, poor, ill-favored, lean-fleshed, such as I've never seen before in the land of Egypt for badness. And the lean and the ill-favored kine did what? Eat up the first 7 fat kine. Look at verse 21. And when they had eaten them, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored as at the beginning. You hear what I said? That you swallowed up a person prospering doesn't mean you will prosper. Do you get what he said here? They look the same. You wouldn't have known they swallowed up that kind of thing. Now, it's possible, I will share this here, that evil can come and swallow up good when good doesn't know how to fight spiritual warfare. Do you get what I'm saying here? Being good is not enough. Being nice is not enough. Okay? Lest they come and swallow you up. And it will just be a waste because the person that swallows up still remains You get what I'm saying here? So that you went and said somebody else's life should be destroyed doesn't mean your own life will rise. Okay? What causes leanness to become fat? Proverbs chapter 11 verse 25 says, the liberal soul shall be made what? Fat. The word liberal there is the generous soul shall be made fat. And he that watereth shall be watered also himself. So it's not about swallowing up others and get people and destroy them and all of that. All right? I know Africans like that kind of gospel that they should die, but it's not scriptural, okay? And it doesn't change anything in your own life as a person. All right? Lesson number 4, we say in Joseph. Joseph was not just a dreamer, but he had to learn interpretation of dreams. If you are just a dreamer, you can run into trouble because of your dreams. You have to learn what is the interpretation of the dream. Now, let me just explain it this way. A dream is the hope. An interpretation of the dream is what is called the substance of what you are hoping for. Do you get what I'm saying here? Okay? So when you have an interpretation of a dream, so if I say I want to grow, I've got a promise from God, and I shall break forth on the left and on the right and this, and that is the promise, that's the dream. The interpretation of the dream is that I know the steps to take. Pharaoh had the dream. What Joseph brought was the interpretation. It is the interpretation that has value, not the dream. Are you following what I'm saying here? What Joseph knew how to do, the skill set, was interpretation of the dream. And let me say, if you don't get the interpretation of a dream, you will run into frustration when you're trying to implement it. I was saying this on Sunday, all right, that look, or 2 Sundays ago, not last week, all right? And I was saying, I said, look, when Moses went to meet God, and God came to meet him rather, about the nation of Israel being delivered from Egypt. You see, a rhema is not just that I got the promise. In a rhema there, when you see God give people rhema, he explains to them the process through which that thing will be fulfilled. Which is when he came to meet Mary with the rhema, he explained the process to Mary and said, look, this is what this son will be, and everything. When he came to meet Paul, he explained to Paul when they were praying in Acts 27 and said, look, the sheep will be destroyed. Rhema includes all of that. Because if God just came to meet Moses and said, take the rod, go and meet Pharaoh. When you get there, all right, say my people will go and let them, and then I will judge. It just says it that way. And when Pharaoh got there the first time, and he did first judgment, second judgment, when Moses got there, and Pharaoh didn't agree, he would give up and go. God gave him the interpretation. He said, you will judge 9 judgments, he won't let you go. On the 10th one, and this is the judgment. The judgment is that I will take the firstborn away. Once I take the firstborn, he had a picture. He had an interpretation. He knew what was going to happen ahead of time. So when he got there, he was doing it according to what he saw. And he knew that on the 10th one, when you don't have an interpretation of the dream, you may go out, and what is happening actually is the process through which that dream will be fulfilled. And what happens there? You see, when Abraham had an interpretation of the dream, God called Abraham and said, your seed will be in bondage for 400 years. He understood it. He said after that, they will come out with great substance. When Joseph got his dream, if he got the interpretation of the dream, he would have known that he will go into bondage for this thing to come to pass. Do you get what I'm saying here? But when you don't have the interpretation of the dream and you step out, God in his sovereignty might be working towards the fulfillment of it, and you don't know that he's God. In fact, the people that he has brought to you to help you, you stone them because you don't know the interpretation. Are you following what I'm saying here? You take them and you stone them. So let me give an example now. Let me give an example. Let me just give an example. Look, whatever anybody says is what else people say. It's cancel. It's not, it's just cancel. Now, somebody can tell you, it's a woman, no marry any man without a job, no marry any man without a car, no marry any man without, ask for three things, his job, grace, and his grace. Because before God gave any man a woman, he gave him a job. Now, the man that God sent to you doesn't have a job. You take a stone and you stone him. Now, let me tell you the fallacy of what you are saying. You married him and he had a high-paying job in dollars. 6 weeks after the marriage, they fired him. You have married a man without a... Can you guarantee that? You can't. I mean, you don't know. By the time you married him, he just closed a deal where money was like water. That will be the last deal for 7 years. What do you do? From your early age, you are a load carrier. Are you following what I'm saying? Now, but there's no marriage you enter that there's no interpretation of that dream. My daughter, 3 years, it will shake like this. Money will be tight. But this man, hold on to him. On the 6th month of the 3rd year, breakthrough shall come. Now you have what is called what? Interpretation. Interpretation too can be, my daughter, go enter. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that it takes an interpretation of dream. Are you following what I'm saying here? Which means this is what is going to happen, and so nobody's life is exactly the same. Now, so if Abraham was, they were going to be 400 years in body, somebody else is not going to, everyone say, what are you talking about? I'm sorry, but that was the interpretation. It says you will come out after that with what? Great substance. Okay? So there is interpretation there. And how do you get the interpretation of the matter there? All right? Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 1 to verse 6. Ecclesiastes 8, 1 to 6. It says, who is a wise man and knoweth the interpretation of a thing? So when a man has, or a person has the interpretation, they've broken it down into the steps. That he told them, he said, 7 years, 7 years. This is what you will do, king. In these 7 years of abundance, you will select a man that is discreet in their affairs. When you have an interpretation of the vision, you know that this is the kind of person that I need, all right, to hire. This is what we need. You have the interpretation. God has taught you how what he has promised you will come to pass. Listen, faith is not blind. Do you get what I'm saying? Faith sees. Faith actually, that's why it says that the eyes of your understanding may be opened. So you come to understand how it will happen. So when other people are shouting, you say, calm down. This is the path. All right? This is exactly how it will happen. There's something I had received from God. Yes, 2 days ago. I told people that they should go and we are going to open a church in this particular area. I told them inside the office, I said, I want to change something. I said, but let me just leave it here. So I sat down. So the people I sent came to come and see me that they didn't find a place. They said they finally found a place. I said, okay. I now say it in a coded way. So I said, so what happened? I said somebody in church found this place and we can use it for prayer and all of that. And this person decided to do a meeting for this particular demographic. And they didn't do anything. They just put out something and the place was packed with 100 people. Oh. I told them, you see what I said to you originally? It's not correct. This one we are seeing is the correct. Are you following what I'm saying here? Because you can get a vision and misinterpretation. So when I started having a change, and the person said it, the person just said, I said, this is the matter. And I don't think the person got what I was saying. All right? This is the matter. Because Samuel got the house of Jesse. They didn't get it. The address, he stood before the place. He almost anointed the wrong person. And if you had anointed him, it would just be like anointing Saul again. The problem you are trying to solve, you have caused it again for another generation. And he said, surely. Interpretation is important too. Now, quickly, how do you get it? He says this. Who is a wise man? A man's wisdom will make his face to shine, and the boldness of his face shall be changed. I counsel thee to keep the king's commandment, and that in regard of the oath of God. Don't be hasty to go out of his sight, and go and stand in an evil thing. For he doeth whatsoever pleaseth him. For where the word of the king is, there is power. And who may say unto him, what doest thou? Let me tell you what that means. That means that when Jesus told them, he said, well, go and get that coat. He says, when you get there, if they ask us, tell them the master has need of it. He says, once you say that, the man will allow you to take his coat. I hope you understand you are untying a coat. That's what he said. And then the owner comes to meet you. I hope you know that without the word of the king, that's theft. Go and enter that BMW and start it. When the owner comes, I hope you know the risk that is involved in it. When the owner of it comes, say the master had need of it. So when a person has the explanation, in fact, it's like daylight. And the only reason why those men went was because they had seen Jesus tell them about catch fish. It worked. So they knew that when he says anything, do it. His mother had said, whatever he says, what? Do it. So when people say it didn't work, it's the interpretation they didn't get. Because if you get the interpretation, it will tell you that don't go and try anything now. It will not what? Work. Or you will know that, listen, this first attempt here will not produce it. The second, you will get it. God is not a God that wants to punish you, that just says, go. When you get there, be trying something. Let's see what will happen. All right? He gives you light. He gives you the interpretation. You know how to get it done. He shows you. And when they told them to come and interpret, because of time, I'll close here. All right? When they told them to go and, I'll just read the last one to you and they'll say, when he told them to go and interpret them, when they told Joseph, Joseph said, all interpretation belongs to God. If we ask him, he will give us. That's why Joseph, instead of getting interpretation of the dream, went to announce the dream to people. He didn't even know that they don't talk like that. The Bible says, and they were envious. People that had been envious of him before, that his father favored him. You now went there again. Then announced dream to them. For working night. Now only you waka come. You mean, are you from say here? You got married, people left you. You went again and said, I have this business idea. We that are still here, so is it only you, God, you will see. You understand what I'm saying? Finally, let me just show this. Lesson number 5. He had 2 sons. The first one's name was Manasseh. The second's name was what? Ephraim. Let me put it up. Manasseh meant, he says, God has made me to forget my affliction. All right? They called the firstborn Manasseh. This one must come before the second. God has made me to forget my toil or my affliction and all my father's house. Then the second was Ephraim. He says, God has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my what? Affliction. In other words, if you still carry the pain of the affliction, you cannot be fruitful. Before fruitfulness comes, he removes the pain of the affliction. So in the land of that affliction, the pain is gone. That's why before you can be fruitful, he says, this is Rehoboth, which means, first of all, you must make room for us. Then we can be fruitful. Now, he says that pain must go. And the only way we say it can go here, listen, there is only one way it can go. One way. Try anything else under the sun, it will not go. The only thing that can make the pain go is that, Father, thank you. Haven't been with this person for 7 years. He found somebody else other than me. 6 months to the wedding, I come to give you thanks. That's the only way. Every other thing is fake. You just say, I forgive him. I forgive him. I forgive him. I forgive him. Until you open the window one day, you see them drive. Something will shake you. Will know that. Hey, no law anywhere. Do you get what I'm saying here? It's as it is, stronghold. The only thing, and I challenge anybody, is go to God and listen. It doesn't make sense. Though. The chairs can be dropped, but be thanking Him. Lord, I thank you. I worship you. You see, I thank you. It doesn't make any sense there. Someone sent me a testimony. They fired her from, was it in December? She's a vice president of a corporation. When she saw me, I went to check it. I said, this is a global multinational, where there are foreigners, all of that there. Vice president. Where they fired her from is a local organization. General manager. But she learned that if you are carrying the pain of the fire, you can't enter the new. First thing that must go out is the sting of death. As that pain has gone, you yourself, you are impressed. No pain again. I don't even feel any pain. Once that, and it comes by thanking Him. Once that is gone, then He says, you can be fruitful in that land of what? Affliction. So fruitfulness begins to come. So look, listen. And He says He made him forget his father's house. You see, when you forget your father's house, it's not that if you are still checking Instagram pages, you have not forgotten. Are you following? What's happening? You're checking. You have not forgotten. You know, people may even have married somebody else. They are still checking to see whether they are happy in their marriage. You are going for honeymoon. They had an accident. You know, nobody will own up to it. Human beings, the conversations in the soul, nobody will say it. They'll say, no. I know in Christianity we're even worse. I'm good. We have all the cliches to cover the thing. People say, come, this, no. I'm angry. Angry cake. How can I be angry? For what? Why should I be angry? You can see that the anger is moving around. Give Him thanks, and you find out that you have even forgotten. You get what I'm saying? The only reason why you remember is that they came to meet you where you were advancing. That's Joseph didn't go and look for his brothers. Do you get what I'm saying here? Or this Potiphar's wife. I'm now in charge. Where is she? Right? Whether she saw her again or he didn't see her did not matter. All right? Which means this thing must be settled. It didn't matter. Are you following what I'm saying? And if you saw her one day, it will also be by chance. How are you? And that's all. And go on. It's not like, we must, we and all of that. Right? So you give Him thanks. I'm telling you, this is the only way until the sting of death. And it doesn't take long. Once you start thanking Him. After some time, the thing is, it has disappeared from your consciousness. You're not even thinking about it again. It's no longer even there. The aura is not there. The stuff is not there. You have moved on, all right, to something else. And people consider moving on to be disloyal. Well, that's their problem. You get what I'm saying? Human beings are very funny people. They can be sympathizing with you, but they don't think you should get out of it very soon. It is too soon. We should be coming to greet you. How can you be so strong so soon? You shouldn't be strong. People are funny. All right? And I mean, same people that came to meet Jesus and said, and Jesus went somewhere, they were laughing when Jesus said they were crying, the Bible says they were wailing. They were wailing. And when Jesus came and said she's asleep, not dead, they started laughing at him to scoff. The same people that were wailing. So you can have wailers around you that are actually laughing at you. And it's the day you get up and say, I'm now ready to move. You know, when we started the cell system, first time we started, I said people who are friends form cells and all of that. One guy came to me and said, Pastor, he said, I have a problem. I said, what? He said, those are my friends. I can't do cell with them. I said, why? He said, you know, there's a scripture that says the friends of a man used to bring him to beg. He said, once your friends see you, that they're bringing to the gates called Beautiful to beg for alms, the hand that carried you to beg, those hands can't carry you up. They don't see me that way. Can I find people that will not think, they don't know about my background, so we'll just pray like kings? Are you following what I'm saying here? You know, in that group, if you start getting up, people say, what is wrong with you? You get it here. So subconsciously, they may be praying with you, but they are holding you down. I hope you know. The guy told me, said, Pastor, between me and you, I have to leave those people. Not that they are bad, but at subconscious levels, they have seen me in this beggarly state. I need new people that will do it. You understand what I'm saying? You understand? Somebody's lost somebody. They are crying. I saw it one day. Let me just leave it. And the lady changed the way she dressed and everything. One I said, look at her. So you've already changed. I said, look at this. The lady was, I waited for her in church. You are doing wickedness. This is witchcraft. Because people want to people to be subservient to them. You understand? Even Jesus, after the third day, he got up now. 3 days. It was okay. Which one is the one? Must we be there for 6 months? They broke up with you. You must be like that. They come to greet you. I hope you're okay. I'll bring fruits for you. On the third day, stop. Are you following me? Until you become the lady. Then tomorrow, when you now break through, they'll be telling you story. Are you not the one? And she was crying. We are the one helping. The social media now, they'll go and say it on social media. Crying, shaking. And she's walking around like she's... and take some of the glory. You know, anybody who touches the glory in your life, they participate in it. You see anybody that sits somewhere and says, I was the one, they were not the one. Listen to what I'm saying, no. If you hear anybody say, come on and say, people that God used are not conscious that they were used. Once a person comes and says, I was the one and trying to recount, look at, listen, you will learn a lesson that you are not the one. Someone in this church left many years ago. I was like, we'll shake the whole church. Listen, I was the one who were calling his friends in church. How can this person leave the church and you won't call him? Call him now. Call him, tell him what happened. I'm the one that mobilized people. Because he came to me and said, nobody called me. Maybe you are doing friend. What are we doing? We are click. Now something has scattered. Call. You know, sometimes people overrate. Right? People, and I'm the one. I've seen it so. Once anybody says, I am the one, they are not the one. Are you following what I'm saying? Because those who God uses, when Moses came down, he didn't know his face was shining. He didn't know. It's people that saw you and say, your face is shining. God will never make you conscious of what he's doing. Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we thank you for your word, and by the power of your Spirit, we ask that you establish us in this truth and cause it to bring forth fruit in our lives. In Jesus' name.